People going into the criminal justice system need a lot of resources that will help them position themselves in case challenges surface. My name is Michael Santos, and I was in there for 26 years and had to really become a master of self-advocacy. Now, in an earlier program or an earlier blog, I wrote about the importance of understanding administrative remedy process. And I also wrote a video or filmed a video and wrote an article about the importance of understanding the Prison Litigation Reform Act. Those are essential formal mechanisms, but there are also informal mechanisms that somebody should use if they want to position themselves for a successful outcome. Now, one of the things that we do at Prison Professors is we hire former people that previously worked for the Bureau of Prisons. They retired as wardens or even as a former director of the Bureau of Prisons. And they help us understand what will really move the needle in self-advocacy. And in one of our interviews with a previous warden, we learned about the importance of the importance that wardens place on politicians and members of Congress. And it's understandable. It's members of Congress that influence the budget of the Bureau of Prisons. So if a member of Congress inquires or makes an advocacy effort on behalf of a constituency, well, that's really going to get the warden's attention. And sometimes there are things happening in the institution that the warden doesn't even know about. So I would encourage you to visit the Advocacy tab. It's available at the top of our website. I'll show you right where. If you go up there to Resources and you click on this section right here, you will see Advocacy. And if you look at that advocacy page, you are going to get information that will help you kind of navigate your path. And one of the articles that you'll find on there is support from senators and congressional reps. This article that I wrote, and I will read it for the benefit of people who are gathering their information from Prison Professors by watching our YouTube channel or our iTunes channel, or maybe even for people who are in prison that want to learn how to rely upon or solicit support from members of Congress. So here is the blog article. I'll just go ahead and read it as I often do. Justice-impacted people who go into the federal prison system face challenges that require a self-advocacy campaign to resolve. For example, they may feel as if the BOP is failing to provide adequate attention to their needs for medical treatment, designation to the prisons that will suit their needs best, access to education or communication with the broader community, or even compliance with the First Step Act. Now, frustrations are certainly part of the prison experience, but when a person feels as if the agency violates constitutionally protected rights, the person should know and understand how to advocate for himself and how to solicit help from influential people such as members of Congress. In most cases, the Prison Litigation Reform Act requires people in federal prison to file a request for administrative remedy. And we have covered administrative remedy in an earlier article, which readers can access through the following link, Administrative Remedy Process. Besides using the formal mechanism of administrative remedy to resolve disputes, it is sometimes appropriate to bring outside attention to the problem. Recently, we interviewed a subject matter expert who retired from the Bureau of Prisons as a warden. He told us that any time he received an inquiry from a member of Congress, he acted quickly. Members of Congress have a duty to respond to the needs of their constituents. And although a person in federal prison may not be a voter, that person is still a constituent. Family members also are constituents, and they may write on a person's behalf. Sometimes it is helpful to have a template for a letter. So we modified an actual letter that we worked on with a member of our community. Others may use this letter as a template, inserting the relevant parts that suit their challenge. The letter below is asking for assistance with a designation for medical reasons. So when you modify the letter for yourself, make sure that you indicate the specific problem and request a reasonable solution. So after writing the letter, the person should send it to the following people: the congressional representative from the writer's district, the congressional representative of the district where the person is located, and congressional representative's office in Washington, D.C. So here is like this template that you could use. And I'm just going to kind of read it. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it gets a little bit monotonous. But I will scroll through it. So if you're watching this on one of those tablet devices or something, you can kind of follow along. Basically, it says, "Dear Senator or Congressional Representative, I am writing with a request for your intervention and assistance for my," and then you would write, "my husband," or whatever. "After a federal judge sentenced Michael to so many months in prison, and a federal judge recommended that he serve that sentence at a specific location, administrators with the Bureau of Prisons designated him to serve the sentence at a federal detention center someplace else." It probably doesn't make sense for me to keep reading this. I'll just kind of paraphrase it, what you're looking to do right here. When you're writing to a political appointee or a elected official, that elected official, if he advocates on your behalf, you've got to make it super simple. So be very clear of what you're asking the congressional representative to inquire with the Bureau of Prisons. And again, you want to offer a reasonable solution, right? In this particular letter that shows up on our blog page, the individual was older, the individual had medical conditions, and the individual did everything right before sentencing. He asked the judge for a specific location, which was a medical center, because of his specific medical needs. And the individual also asked the judge to make that recommendation for that very reason and to put it in the statement of reasons. But despite all of that, the Bureau of Prisons designated the person to a detention center. And in a detention center, he may not get the same level of care that he would receive if the BOP designated him to a medical facility. But it's costly. I don't know all of the reasons why the Bureau of Prisons, or all of the factors that the Bureau of Prisons takes into consideration when designating somebody. But if you're going to advocate for yourself, you definitely want to know what is the most effective way to help myself. And typically, it's to get a member of Congress to advocate with you, or a family member. You want to write these letters to the Bureau of Prisons. You want to ask the warden to take a look at your particular case. And you always want to be reasonable and not demanding. Remember, the judge sentences somebody to the custody of the Attorney General of the United States, and then the Attorney General designates that authority to the Bureau of Prisons, and the Bureau of Prisons then has a series of hierarchy, first with the Washington, D.C. office, and then the regional offices, and then there's the warden of the local institution. It's such a big bureaucracy that sometimes those leaders don't know what other functionaries within the organization are doing. So if you feel as if your rights have been violated, or if the Bureau of Prisons is not following its own policy, you want to make sure that you're doing everything you can to advocate for yourself in the best possible way. That will include writing letters to the warden. It will also include writing letters to more influential people, which would especially be members of Congress. And if all that doesn't work, then you've got to go through the administrative remedy process, and then potentially a habeas process. But you can get all of that information for free just by visiting us at prisonprofessors.com. I produce content every day with hopes of helping outcomes for all justice-impacted people. And I went through prison for 26 years, learned a lot about the process. In fact, we host a free webinar for anybody that wants to participate every Friday. And if you want to register, just click one of the links on this website at prisonprofessors.com. But if you're watching this on YouTube or on iTunes, make sure that you subscribe to our channel. It's one of the ways that we support our nonprofit. And also, if you're watching this inside of a jail or a prison, make sure that you're doing everything you possibly can to kind of stand out as an outstanding candidate for relief. I am Michael Santos, and on behalf of our entire team at prisonprofessors.com, we believe in you.